Well, let's get some more insight on that global cooperation across live to our panel of guests. Joining us is journalist and political commentator Steven Sahiounie, Asia political risk analyst Ross Feingold, and global strategic analyst Sashi Asthana. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning on RT International. Mr. Sahiounie, I want to start with you first. We've heard President Putin talking about the emerging multipolar world being more democratic. He's also talked about the backsliding of democracies in the West, particularly in the US and in the European Union. What do you make of that statement, and how do you expect the Western nations who say that they are bastions of democracy to react to that?
First of all, their democracy, the West's democracy, is a big, in my opinion, it's a big play. But today, the world, the President Putin's speech shows and proves that today the world is not controlled by the United States, and it's unable to be one party to be controlled. And that's what they're trying to do. The American deep state and the American foreign policy State of Department, they're trying to show that we are still in charge. We're the only rulers. But that doesn't happen. Those days are finished. We are not back in the 2003 when they said we're going to go invade Iraq and the whole world listened to them. Today there's powers. Today there's an alliance being built between Russia, between China. India is getting in this alliance. So we're talking about an economical, industrial, and political military power in the face of the United States and their allies. But that's the big difference today. Russia, China, and India, they're allies. But on the other hand, you're talking about the allies of the United States, they take orders from the United States, and they don't say no. They cannot say no. And especially the European countries and the Western countries, when the United States tells them you have to go to war, you have to put sanctions, you have to demonize a person, whoever it is, they go by the order. There's no negotiations with them. On the other, that's different from the other side, where we see the alliances that's being built and the BRICS countries, and how we are seeing today we are seeing a more normal world than when we used to be seeing, let's say, two decades ago.
Yeah, Mr. Feingold, I want to bring you in on this because we heard there talk about sort of the way there is diplomacy coming from countries like China, Russia and India. And the Russian president was talking about the renaissance in high diplomatic art. I think somebody who espouses that is definitely the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. How crucial do you think it is for other nations to take heed of this kind of foreign advice now, especially as we're witnessing what is a very proactive diplomacy from countries like China on a global stage?
The important economic and military powers will always pursue their own interests, whether that's the United States, China, Russia, or even India. There's so much speculation about India possibly moving closer to China, but I personally don't think that's really true, given the tensions they have over their border and trade and other issues. Even if India is upset with Trump's tariffs there, that might be a temporary situation that will be resolved. Yeah, it's easy to say that the situation is changing dramatically versus 20 years ago. But ultimately, I would say a majority of countries around the world are still going to look to the United States to be the premier economic and security partner. And I don't think that reality is likely to change.
Yeah, Mr. Asthana, I just want to bring you in on that point about India and the trade issues with the US, because Vladimir Putin has also complimented the country on its ability to withstand this immense pressure that's come, particularly when it comes to buying oil from Russia and its other beneficial ties to the countries. Do you think that other countries in the global south can use New Delhi's experience as being a bit of a blueprint as to how they could then deal with that kind of threat and possibly abuse of power that's seen coming from the US, and should be replicating this?
See, as far as US economic coercion is concerned, that is being resented by India and by other countries, as you mentioned, Russia, China, as well as India. Now, let me be very clear, as one of your panelists commented regarding India-China reset and things like that. Let me put it in uncertain terms that, as far as India is concerned, uh, India maintains its strategic autonomy, and India will look after its own interest, as well as the common uh, threat which is being posed by US-led West. Why I say so is because the kind of economic coercion which is going on, certainly India cannot succumb to it. And if we have to see the background of this coercion, the coercion is that there is a mindset of President Trump which says that BRICS countries are going to de-dollarize, they are going to trade in their local currencies, especially these three important countries, and therefore I must target all of them. Now, what he has done is he started off with China, took up the tariffs up to 225%, and that got a pushback. And then he came down to Mother Earth, and therefore, thereafter, he was not. He found that it's difficult to deal with all of them together. So he was a little softer on China. Then he picked up Brazil and India, and thought that perhaps they may give in. Now he has also got emboldened by some of these countries like European has given them 0% tariff. Same is the case with Japan. Now he doesn't understand that these two countries are overly dependent on their security. These two groups are overly dependent on their security on United States. So they have given to his coercion. But India may not give in to his coercion in the manner in which he thinks. So while India remains open to negotiations, but I don't think it is going to give in to its coercion. Secondly, we also have a different, or shall I say, peculiar situation. Like take the case of energy. Now, we need energy security and affordability because India imports 87.7% of energy from outside. That is the level of dependence. Now, we are importing 35% of it from Russia, and the distant second is Iraq, 20%. So therefore, we cannot but help buying Russian oil. We will continue to buy Russian oil irrespective of what America has to say or America has to do, irrespective of how much tariff they put in. So these are some hard lines. Similarly, the entry into the agriculture market, that is also a red line for India. So India is not going to budge on its red lines. Back to you.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. Journalist and political commentator Steven Sahiounie, Asia political risk analyst Ross Feingold, and global strategic analyst Sashi Asthana. Thank you.